Hello and welcome to today's assignment. This assignment will be for April 16th, Thursday. The first thing we're going to do today is we're going to review some of the past rules that we've learned for exponents. The first rule that we learned at the beginning of this e-learning assignments was the product rule. And the product rule basically states that if you have the same base and you're multiplying, then you can add your exponents. So for example, the first thing you would do is take your regular numbers and just simply multiply them together. 8 times 5 is 40. The next thing you would do is you would look at your exponents that have the same base. So for example, the base of this is x, so you would keep x, but then you would just take 4 and 3 and you would add them together, so you get x to the 7th. So your final answer would be 40x to the 7th. And that's the product rule. It basically states that you can add exponents together when you're multiplying. The second rule that we learned was called the power to a power rule. And what it states is that you can multiply the exponents if they have the same base. One thing you need to be careful about is if you look at the number 8, it actually has an exponent of 1. It's just not written there. And so when you do this, you're going to take the 3 on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it by the exponents on the inside, so that you end up getting 8 to the 3rd and x to the 12th. You're still not done with this one. You need to go ahead and take your 8 to the 3rd and figure out what that would be. Again, you're always more than welcome to use Desmo's Scientific Calculator. If you're not sure how to get to it, just type in Desmo's Scientific Calculator on Google. You'll do 8 to the 3rd power. You'll find out that it's 512. And so then this would become 512x to the 12th power. Again, that's called the power to a power rule, and you're going to multiply the exponents by the exponent on the outside. Looking at the third rule that we learned, this is called the quotient rule. And the quotient rule basically is the opposite of the product rule. Instead of adding, you're going to subtract, and this was called the quotient rule. And it basically says that if bases are the same, that you can subtract. So the first thing you do is you look at your regular numbers. 6 over 5 does not reduce, so you're simply going to keep 6 over 5 the same. But this time, you're going to take a look at your bases, and you'll notice that you have x over x to the 3rd over x to the 4th. X to the 4th is bigger, so we're going to keep the x on the bottom side of the fraction, and then we're going to subtract the 3 from the 4. So 4 minus 3 is x to the 1st. Now you don't have to write exponents to the 1st, so the final answer should look like 6 over 5x. And this would be your final answer. Again, the quotient rule states that if you're dividing fractions that you can subtract the exponents, which is the opposite of the product rule. In today's lesson, we're going to learn about the zero exponent rule. And this is one of my favorite ones. It's super easy, which should make today's assignment really easy. 5 to the 0, well, let's look at this first. 5 to the 1st means just 5. 5 to the 2nd means 5 times 5. So 5 to the 1st really just means 5 divided by 5, which, as we know, anything divided by itself is simply going to be 1. So here's the really cool trick. It doesn't matter anything. This is called the zero power rule. It doesn't matter what the number or letter is. Anything that has 0 as a power is automatically going to be 1. So anything that has 0 as a power is going to equal 1. So we can simply look at 1b. Okay, 2 to the 0, it means 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So when you see these, you can actually just simply go, oh, that has to equal 1. That has to equal 1. That has to equal 1. This has to equal 1. This has to equal 1. Into the 0, it has to equal 1. It doesn't matter what the number or variable is. If it has 0 as the power, it's automatically going to equal 1. And you'll notice that I'm doing these really quickly because they're super easy. Anything that has 0 as the power is automatically going to equal 1. And what you should find out is, well, it doesn't really matter what the number is, what the letter is. If it has 0 as a power, it automatically equals 1. Today's assignment is simply going to be really easy. We're going to answer 10 questions of different things that have 0 as the power. Hopefully you can figure out what the answer will be. If you have any questions, please email me at esutherland@acsc.net. Thank you.